How was Lemuria destroyed? What really happened at the end of Lemuria? This is a question that often comes up because people have memories. They sometimes have very strong emotional connections to memories of living in a beautiful place that ended up disappearing beneath the ocean. So today I want to just offer some thoughts that might help clarify memories or stories that you may have come across in your spiritual journey. I have to point out to begin that what we consider to be Lemuria and Atlantis, for me, completely different, separated by tens of thousands of years, different dimensions, different realities, Lemuria being much older. Now, at the end of Lemuria, because as Lemurians, we were so high vibrating, we were so connected energetically to everything around us, both physical and non physical, there is no way that a violent, traumatic end would be part of our experience. For me, it doesn't make sense at all, because here was a society that had existed for untold eons of time, evolving in divine light, infused with divine feminine energy, being guided through its evolutionary experience by goddess light. This was a love-based society. And I'm talking about a love that we can only barely fathom as third dimensional humans. I mean, it truly was Eden in a sense, because everything was operating at a high frequency, and the fact that we were so connected. So the end of Lemuria was not some huge surprise. It wasn't dramatic, traumatic. It was not a disaster. When I hear the words destroyed, disaster, nothing to do with Lemuria. Did we have some emotions about the coming end of the Lemurian experience? Of course we did. Living in such connection to the Earth Mother and the elements and all of nature around us, whether it was organic or based in the mineral and crystal realities, we were so connected, and many of us had spent multiple lifetimes in Lemuria. So of course we're going to have some feeling, some emotion, because suddenly we have the knowing that this is coming to an end, and it's time to start preparing ourselves mentally and emotionally for that transition. But this was not a case of violent earthquakes and volcanoes and explosions, and it's not like the end of the Titanic multiplied 1,000-fold, right? It was not like that in Lemuria. We knew it was coming. It was no surprise. In fact, in the moment that Creator Source communicated to Lemurians that the end process was now on its way, the story is it was one of the most beautiful and loving moments in all of Lemurian evolutionary experience. However you want to measure the length of it, Lemuria existed for a long, long time. It was an evolutionary experience. It was operating at a high vibrating frequency, a higher dimension. And when we all received that knowing, it was at the same moment. And we felt it, we saw it in each other. The sky and the environment around us lit up in colors and a vibration. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it, because it was just so profoundly beautiful, the communication that this was now the beginning of the end, for lack of a better term. It was one of the most beautiful moments, because in that moment, all Lemurian beings and all the life around Lemurians, the trees, the dolphins, the whales, the minerals and crystals, everything felt as one and felt this resonance, this connection. So we were able to prepare and experience this in the highest possible light. Now, most of us who are physically incarnate in Lemuria, we simply re-emerged back into non-physical. It's just a simple process of just allowing this physical body to demolecularize, if I said that correctly, and just return to pure energy. So that was the majority of the population. But again, this was not some kind of violent surprise. We were able to prepare mentally and emotionally for this beautiful transition back to source, back to the non-physical. Now, a certain percentage of Lemurians decided to leave and migrate throughout the rest of Mother Earth, knowing that the learnings, the experiences, the wisdom, the love that we had in Lemuria would be needed in future times, would be needed throughout the world. So if you imagine that Lemuria generally existed in the area that we consider the Pacific Ocean these days, imagine that some physical Lemurians traveled west to what is now the area of Japan and Asia. Some traveled east toward what is now the Americas and didn't stop there. Some traveled further afield. So some of us stayed in that high vibrating state, that kind of light body state, and did travel around the world, planting seeds of Lemurian wisdom, helping guide other evolutionary pockets of experience around the planet with what we had learned in Lemuria, but more importantly, planting seeds, knowing that in the future, everything that we learned and experienced and created in Lemuria would be of value to future phases of evolution on this earth. So that's why there seems to be Lemurian influences all over the planet, whether it's in Europe or the Americas, Australia, Australasia, around through India and up into the middle of the Asian continent. This is why there seems to be a Lemurian connection in so many different places, especially around the Pacific Rim. But that's not the whole story. As I said, the majority of us in Lemuria reemerged back into non-physical. But all of those Lemurian lifetimes became permanent parts of our consciousness, our cellular consciousness, our soul consciousness. It basically was added to the evolution of all that is, and each of us as an individual soul had all of that experience, all of that knowledge and wisdom woven into our light, which means that for those of us that had lifetimes in Lemuria, each time we've incarnated since then, whether it's been on Earth or some other star system, whether it's in this dimension or some other dimension, we've always brought that wisdom with us. It's just an integral part it's just an integral part of our vibration. It's just part of who we are. And here in this current third dimensional reality, at this point in human evolution, many of us are reawakening to that in a strong way, because this is a time that we knew was coming. This was a time when we knew that our wisdom, our Lemurian experience, that incredible feeling of Lemurian love, of oneness with all that is, that experience, that wisdom would be needed at times like this. Now, some people, when they think about Lemuria or they have memories of Lemuria, they often conflate Lemuria with Atlantean type experiences. Now, the end of Atlantis, or at least, well, actually, both of the things that we call Atlantis, they didn't end very nicely. I think that's one reason I don't like connecting with them, because one of them was playing around with energies and that they barely understood, and could have very well destroyed Mother Earth. And at the time, it was decided there was no reason to allow that to happen. There's no reason to ruin such a beautiful evolutionary playground as Mother Earth for the sake of one experience. So the Atlantean times ended badly because I think there was a lot of focus on physicality, on the mental energy of being incarnate rather than the emotional or the spiritual. So Atlantis was a much different reality, lower vibrating. We were operating under much thicker veils when we incarnated. And they did end in a dramatic, traumatic fashion. So it, it's my feeling that a lot of people who feel that they have these scary or horrible memories and emotions associated with the end of Lemuria, for me, that's probably something else. Could be Atlantis, could be something else. But in my heart of hearts, I truly believe, because I feel it and I remember that the end was, yes, it was a big thing. It was emotional, but we were different beings with a different consciousness, and it was not scary. It was not traumatic. We were not scarred traumatically because of the end of Lemuria. It was a beautiful thing that we consciously experienced together. So, how does this resonate with you? Does it trigger any memories or feelings? Let me know in the comments below. I'm David. Thanks for watching. And until next time, I send you my love and light from Lemuria. Aloha.